Garth. Yes, my name is Courtney. I am a financial educator with MSU Federal Credit Union. Today, we are talking about scams and identity theft targeting you and your money. Let me get my screen set up real quick. I am in a different room than normal, so I gotta get all my stuff pulled over so I can see if you are chatting. Okay, if you have questions at all, throw those in the chat or the Q&A. And we can answer those. And then before I get started, feel free to throw in the chat. I'm curious to see if your debit or your credit card numbers have ever been stolen. I'm just curious to see how many people. And if you send it just to panelists, I believe just Garth and I can see that, and I will not say any names, but I just kind of want to see a poll out of how many people in here have had that happen. So when we're talking today about scams and identity theft, it's really kind of looking at what is it. So the whole goal of a fraudster or a scam artist of what they want to do is deceive you into misrepresenting you. So there is a difference between fraud and identity theft. Identity theft is going to be a little bit more severe. So fraud might be when somebody gathers certain pieces of information about you where they can use that for their benefit. So maybe they get your card numbers and they use those and take the money from your account that way. Something along those lines, card skimming, but identity theft is going to be more extreme. That's actually going to be when they have your social security number, which is really the key to your identity. If you Google yourself, which I highly encourage you to do, it will be very scary, all of the things that you can find about yourself. A lot of times when you're filling out like an application for an account or, funds or scholarships or things like that, most of the information that it asks you can actually be found online. But that social security number is something that nobody else should know but yourself. So really just knowing when is the right time that I actually should be giving this information out, recognizing that you can say no. So I've had people call me and say, we're contacting you about something medical. We need you to provide us with your social security number so that we can confirm this is you. I politely say, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. What other information can I give you instead? And if that really is the only thing and you think that it really is legit, you have an upcoming procedure or something like that where it would make sense that they would be contacting you, it's still okay to say, I'm not comfortable with that. Look them up yourself and call back. Most of the time, places will only ask for the last 4 digits of your social security number. So again, if someone's asking for that full number, that could be a red flag. If you currently keep your social security card in your wallet or your purse or somewhere that would be easily found in your apartment or your dorm room or your house, definitely move that to a different spot. The hard part with fraud and identity theft is over half of identity theft victims have had their identity stolen by someone that they know. So it might be an old roommate, somebody that you were friends with that you're not friends with anymore, someone you were dating that might still have some passwords or know how to get in your phone or things like that. A lot of times it is going to be someone in your family that maybe is going through a hard financial time and is very desperate. But just recognizing that we don't always know the people we think we know. I know when I was in college, I lived with somebody for a year and you think you know them really well, or, you have classes with somebody and you see them every day. Just recognizing that you still might not know financially what's going on with them or the struggles they have or things that they might be contemplating. Just really keeping that information private. Keep your computers locked, keep your phone, 2 passwords on there, make it safe, but really just limiting who has that information. And especially when it comes to your social security number, making sure that that's something that really no one else knows. If you can memorize anything, do that. And that way you don't have to keep that card around. So fraudsters really like to prey on people when they're not in their normal routines and they're not really thinking clearly. So think about if you've ever been driving and it starts raining really hard and somebody calls you and asks you a question. You probably can't think clearly through that answer in that time frame because your mind's in so many other places. Or if you've just gotten really bad news and then somebody asks you an important question, you're probably not going to logically think through the correct thing to do in those situations because your mind is distracted. The fraudsters really take advantage of this. They wait till people are in a time of need, when they're outside of their normal habits, patterns, or they look to take advantage of people that have the ability to be generous. So really just keeping in mind with everything that's gone on with COVID, especially there was a huge shift at first when everyone was kind of switching from in-person to remote things. Everybody was trying to get used to a new normal and what that was. So they really preyed on that. We're kind of in that same spot again, where people are slowly coming out of hibernation, I'll call it, and maybe getting out and doing a couple more things. So all of our routines that we had developed over the past year and a half, again, are going to be changing. And so they recognize this. They recognize some people are going to be, back in the office and commuting and things like that, driving to and from classes soon, and really taking advantage of that. Most of the time, the groups that are most at risk are going to be up there right now. With youth, that really goes up until it can be 21, 22, 23, really until you start using credit or establishing credit. The reason youth are so much at risk is because when you don't have any like student loans or a credit card or anything like that, you have a blank social security number. So it's a blank slate for a fraudster to kind of take that and do whatever they want with it. If you're somebody that already has a loan or something like that, where you might be monitoring your credit a little bit more, it's a lot more risky for them to try and take your identity. So I know for me, I have a daughter who's 4, and I pull her credit report every few months to make sure that no one's using her information. With elderly, there's a lot of different reasons. Maybe they are not as technologically advanced to know some of the scams that might be taking advantage of them online. A lot of times they're scammed with things where it's trying to look out for other family members. And then also they might have a blank credit report at that point where they could kind of take that SSN and go open loans and accounts in their name. Social media, because the amount of information that is shared on social media, a lot of scam artists and fraudsters will take that and use pieces of that information to maybe get an account. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then high earners. So I know for me, I monitor my account regularly. I want to see, am I sticking with my budget? If I want to go out and do this, how much do I have in this saver? How much do I have in this checking account? All of those fun things that really make sure I know what's happening with my money. However, a lot of times people that are earning a lot are maybe not checking these things as much to catch it. And also fraudsters want to find people that are making a lot of money because then there's more to take. So these are things that were really big with COVID. Some of them are kind of falling off a little bit, but I still wanted to leave them on here to talk about. Is really just anything that, maybe seems too good to be true. There's a lot of false advertisement out there with supplies or testing or medicine when it comes to COVID, items that really are being overpriced because there was that high demand. Or ones that are actually scams where, why don't you get this free product, pay $3.95 for shipping, and then you either don't get anything in the mail, they take that money and then your card information and go from there, or they send you something that is not what you thought it was. So again, really just making sure you're doing your research. A lot of the things with scams and fraud and identity theft is trying to catch you again when you're not kind of on your toes with that stuff. So taking the time to stop and kind of reflect on everything and think, does this make sense? It's going to be the best thing that you can do. Let's see. So far, we have 2 people whose cards have been stolen. And someone said mine has been stolen once, but it got the attention from the bank, so it was safe. So a lot of times you will be notified from your financial institution. I know for us, we have a fraud prevention service. And I've gotten an alert before that my card information was stolen. The really good thing about, it's not good, but the helpful thing that financial institutions do is a lot of them do have that fraud prevention. I know with us, we have Visa cards, so there's Visa, 0% Visa fraud liability. So typically you just fill out an affidavit and then those funds, those charges are removed from your account, the funds are returned, and then our internal Visa department fights that on the side. So that's what most financial institutions do. So don't panic if that happens. Phishing is one of the most common ways that fraudsters will try to compromise your accounts, your information, hack your phone or your computer. So really what they do is they mimic companies, businesses, sites that you really do use. So For me, I've gotten them where it looks like it's coming from Amazon or Netflix. And really, there's usually going to be one of three things. There's either going to be an attachment it wants you to open, a link it wants you to click on, or reply with information. So with these, it'll typically say like your Amazon Prime account is going to be shut down if you don't log in and confirm your account payment details, or your payment details are missing this information. Please log in now to confirm them. Random things like that. I know I have a coworker who got one before that like her lights were going to be shut off if she did not like this link log in or log into consumers, and that all that stuff was going to be shut off if she did not go and confirm all that information. So a lot of times there will be a link where if you hover over that, you can see where it's really going to take you. I never click on links that come in my email. Even if I think it's something real, I'll actually just either go to the app that I have on my phone or log into the website and see if I have a message there, if there's any like banners or alerts that would be on their website. A lot of times if you do click the link, it'll take you to a site that looks just like it, and it will want you to put in your username and your password. So then it's gathering that information. And then typically from there, you confirm like your account information or your debit card information. So there they have your username, your password, and then also some of your account and financial details. Sometimes they will stick with just the financial details and then take your card or your account information and go on a shopping spree. Sometimes they take that information though, and then try and use your username and password on other sites, recognizing that a lot of people use that same information. When they want you to reply, it's typically going to be something very similar where they want you to reply confirming information. The attachments might be something a little bit different. So it might be, we have given you this resource. I have an example on the next page that's going to show that, but a lot of times with the attachments, it's downloading malware on your phone or your computer. Sometimes it's there right away, and you don't have control over your device anymore until you pay a fee or they gather all the information that they need and then give it back, or, take themselves out of there virtually. But sometimes you don't even know that it's happened. And then they're monitoring your keystrokes and activity and then taking that information to use later. So with phishing attempts, really just looking, there's typically going to be some sort of spelling or punctuation error. The sender name is usually a good one. If there's weird or like personal names like bob@amazonsupport.com, or there's other dashes or like .support or things like that within there that wouldn't make sense, that's a good sign. But the biggest thing is usually going to be that it doesn't make much sense or it's very urgent. If you don't do this right now, this is going to happen. Which a lot of times that information does not come to us via email because a lot of times people aren't checking their email that often. I know we have it on our phones a lot, but if you're anything like me, and this is what I do to try and avoid some of this phishing, your email information and all of your contact information, every time you put it in a site, it's just out there a little bit more. And some websites do sell that information. So your email address, your phone number, that's how we get all these spam calls and emails. So what I do is I have one email that I will use if I'm online or I'm doing something like that I don't check that often. And that's where a lot of my spam one goes. But then I have a separate email address that I give to family and friends and that I use with them. And that way, that's one that I check. Everything there is usually legit. And that one's not out there as much for me to get these phishing attempts. But here's an example. This one looked like it was from the World Health Organization. And this is one that actually had an attachment that would have been malware. First off, the title, Dear Sir, not many places would send that out with that title in there right now. It might be a little bit more generic. Safety spelled wrong up here. It's also a very weird subject for an email. Safety, coronavirus awareness, who. There's missing spaces down here. Just doesn't really make much sense, but if you clicked on this, it would install that malware. This was another one that looked a little bit more legit, but was actually fraud. If you hovered over this link right here, it was not actually taking you to Apple. Those are just a couple examples. Credential stuffing is another thing that can happen from phishing emails though. So when fraudsters get your username or your password, they recognize that a lot of people use the same usernames and passwords on multiple sites because there's so much to remember. However, once somebody can hack one of your accounts, that means they can really hack any, and they will try any and all sites, financial institutions, anything that they think you could be using. and eventually gain access. Another thing to keep in mind with this is if you do have security questions listed, make sure the answers to those cannot be found in your social media. So if it says like one of your security questions is the first car you ever had, if that can be found in your social media, change that question or take it off your social media. Although that might be something that people you know could guess. So again, making sure those questions are really good. So if somebody does figure out your username, password, things like that, they cannot go try them other places. That's why it also can be helpful not to use your email address as your username, because that's usually one of the first things they'll try. So similar to phishing attempts, there are voice call ones and text message scams as well. I'm sure you've all gotten robocalls or those. We can lower your warranty on your Jeep. We can lower the interest rates on your credit cards. Let's just consolidate all your student loans right now and make this nice and easy for you. A lot of those are fraud. I typically just hang up. If you ever get a call where somebody says, hello, can you hear me? Don't say yes. A lot of times that will be them recording your voice saying yes, so then they can use that later on. And it's a lot harder to prove it's not you when there are recordings of you agreeing to things. Don't give out personal information. If it is something that you think could be legit, again, hanging up, looking up the number yourself and calling them back, because they can spoof numbers as well and make it look like it's coming from a financial institution or something along those lines. With text messages, sometimes it can be very obvious because it looks like it's coming from, random letters or an email address. But I've gotten one where it looks like it's from Chase Bank saying like my card has been frozen and I need to confirm a couple details. I don't have a card with them. That wouldn't make sense, but really, again, just not clicking on any of those things, kind of stopping and thinking, would it make sense that I should get this right now? Another big red flag that something is a scam is if there are gift cards involved. So gift cards are supposed to be just for that. Gifts, you might get one for a birthday or a holiday, but they really shouldn't be a form of payment or bartering or a way to keep your lights on. So a lot of scams will be, we're going to turn your air conditioning, your heat, your lights, all that stuff off if you don't pay us today. If you can't pay the full $200 that you owe, why don't you just send us a $75 Amazon gift card and we'll keep stuff on? In our head, maybe you're listening to this and you're like, that makes no sense. I would never fall for that. But again, if maybe you're behind on a payment, or you can't remember if your roommate paid it and they're not answering and you see that in your head, you might say, ooh, I'm going to save the day and I'm going to just give this $75, do this gift card, and then I'll work it out with my roommates or anyone later. That's not how that works. They accept cash, they accept payment. It is not going to be gift cards. Sellers from online auctions, if somebody ever overpays you and wants you to give them money back in gift cards, a lot of times that original payment is not good. So this one we've seen quite a bit with online employment. People will find a job online and begin doing money for just a little, or doing work for a little extra side money. And then say at the end of 2 weeks, you get $1,000 deposited in your account instead of the $600 you were expecting. They say, sorry, we didn't mean to pay you that much. Keep the $1,000, just take the $400 out and get a Visa gift card and send that back to me. And we'll just use that as the difference. That way you don't have to wait for us to repay you. A lot of times though, those funds, it takes about 3 business days to recognize that it's not actually connected to another account or that the other account doesn't have the funds in there. And eventually that $1,000 that was deposited in there can be taken out. You've already taken $400 out and given it to them in a gift card, which is guaranteed funds. And now you are out that money. And then the same with the IRS for back taxes. First off, the IRS is going to contact you through the mail. They're not going to text you, call you, or email you. And if they are asking for gift cards, that's not anything they would ever do. So just keep in mind, I know this one seems kind of like common sense, but when you're not thinking clearly or there's other things going on or on the line, again, it could be a lot easier to fall for these than, just listening to me up here talking about them. So a couple other ones that I know are really prevalent towards college students or people that are recently graduating. Medical insurance is a big one. So there was a lot of medical insurance fraud previous to COVID, but now it is even worse. a lot of people that were sick or needed to be protected that were not able to afford that or didn't have any other options, were finding, information from other people's medical insurance cards, either using those to get the care that they need, just a lot of stuff. So if you're getting anything in the mail about your medical insurance and it's, you owe a $20 copay, or it's, giving you a list of everything that's happened through the year, how much of your money you've used, and it doesn't make any sense, definitely look into that. And if somebody's asking to use your medical insurance information, say no. So social media, I talked about this one a little bit, but really just thinking about all of the information that you're sharing on there. How much of that is public? How well do you actually know the people that you are connected with on there? I'm a huge proponent of using LinkedIn and things like that for networking and connections. Again, just keeping in mind that we can't trust everyone that we meet, even on there if they seem great. So if it's somebody that you don't know that you're connecting with on social media, again, thinking about, should I be keeping this information on there? Grants and scholarships are a wonderful thing. College is expensive. So I highly recommend applying for any grants or scholarships that you can that do not impact the amount of money that you're getting through other things. But they should be free money to help you. So if it's asking you to pay an application fee, that's a good sign that it's fraud. If you're getting a scholarship that you did not apply for and you can't find information on it or why you would have gotten that and anybody that would have put you in for that, then that's probably a good sign that it's not legit. There are so many out there. So even if it seems like one that's kind of weird, talk to financial aid and ask them, because you don't want to lose any free money you could be getting, but you also don't want to be giving your personal information to fake sites or giving your financial information to scam artists that way. Housing and roommate is a huge one that we've seen an uptick in. A lot of people want to know where they're going to be living when they get back around campus. But for those of you who are not actually living near Lansing or East Lansing, it might be a little bit harder for you to come see spaces. So you're probably looking online. Fraud with this, people will, look up popular complexes in the area and then create a mimic site from that and then send you emails, offering deals and stuff like that. So you click on that, it takes you to the mimic site. You give them a security deposit, first month's rent, and then you come here, think you're moving into a place, and they don't have any of your information. You have no idea who does and who you paid that money to. It also might just be that you're promised, a bedroom and a bathroom, and then you get there and it's just a basement. So I highly recommend, if you cannot see the place in person, do research on the landlords, see if they will FaceTime you so you can see it in real time to make sure it is legit. They have access to it and it's what you are signing into. And then online card purchases, there are so many scam sites, fake ads, things like that when you're on social media. So if it seems too good to be true, if there's a cute sweatshirt for $5.50 through this site, I would guarantee you're probably not going to get that cute sweatshirt. If you do, it's going to be something very different and your card information might get stolen. All right, a couple other ones. Investing has really gotten huge. I would say over the past year and a half as well. I would say a lot more people are looking at investing, but there is a lot of investing fraud and scams. So making sure that you are doing research, what you're investing in. If it's a company that, you don't know much about, I would highly recommend avoiding that. The scams that I had seen the most of were some of those COVID scam companies where they were creating these products that weren't, legit, selling those. And then they were also buying their own stocks to make, it look like it would be something you would want to invest in. Then once other people would start buying into those stocks, they would sell, take that profit. And then it was not even really a company that was going to be offering the option for them to make money. Dating and romance is another big one. A lot more people have been doing virtual dating because things have been shut down. Again, just trusting your gut. If it seems weird or too good to be true, or there's somebody asking for money, a lot of times if somebody won't, video chat with you, or anytime you're going to see them, there's something that happens financially where they're not able to do it and they start asking for money, just a big red flag. Keep that in mind. tuition due. So I've had students tell me on MSU's campus that they've gotten letters saying that they owe $5,000 in tuition. If they don't pay it, within the next week or two, they're going to be kicked off campus. MSU is not going to treat you that way. So keep that in mind when you come back. If you do owe money, there's going to be a better way that they're going to work with you on that. It's not going to be a threat to kick you off. So just contact financial aid, make sure those are legit. Mail fraud. This one might be a little bit more prevalent if you're in apartment complexes where the mail might be a little bit more open. Really just making sure things that you're putting out in the mail, keep an eye on that. Make sure that, the mail carrier is taking it so that way it's not sitting there for a while. If it has sensitive information, if you're expecting something personal in the mail, checking that every day to get it out as soon as possible, and watching out for predatory lending in the mail. And if someone is sending you credit card pre-approvals and you're not 21, that's a good sign of scams because it's illegal to do that before then. And then loan forgiveness. So once you're looking at graduation, there are a lot of loan forgiveness programs out there, but there are a lot of fraudulent ones as well. And even some of them that are legit have ways that it's almost impossible to actually make it through the loan forgiveness part of that, or to finalize that where you're actually going to get the forgiveness piece. So really making sure that you're looking into that and knowing what you're getting into and that you've read the fine print, so that way you're not going into something with the understanding that it's going to financially benefit you, and then in the end it's actually hurting you financially. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so I have this video. Card skimming is another form of fraud where these super smart fraudsters create these machines to look exactly like a card reader. As soon as you put your card in there, it's taking your card number, and then once you put your PIN or your code in there, it's going to take that, and then they have that as well. So when there is a card skimming device on a reader, your card functions like normal. So it's still going to go to your financial institution. Those funds are going to be taken out, but again, it's also being transmitted to the fraudsters. Then they can take it and do what they want. So I'm going to show you this video. It involves 3 individuals working together to try to put a device on, and they do it real quick. So first, this individual comes up and takes the first attendant over there. Then they walk up with their chips, talk to the other attendant, ask a question. If you notice right here in the back, the hand is getting ready to go in the bag. As soon as they walk away, that hand goes in, pulls it out, and now the device is over the card reader. Took about 5 seconds, and at that point, anyone else that puts their card into that reader is going to have it sent to them. So there have been a couple gas stations in Lansing that have had card readers. I think those ones were mostly out at the pump though. So when you're getting gas, it can be really helpful to stay towards the center of the pumps where the attendant can see you. It's lit up. It's typically going to be on the ones that are on the outside. With an ATM, gas pump, any of those things, really, it's not meant to be destructible. So like if there's things broken off, or there's the tape or things that are going over it or covering up the little keyhole, if things look weird or wonky, just let them know inside. Don't put your card in there. If you ever do, and then you see something on the news or you hear it, check your account, contact your financial institution, let them know. It's really easy. I know it can be kind of a hassle to go change it in accounts, but just to block your card and get a new one, at least for us, we don't charge for that. Yes, you have to go in and like re-put it for any payments and things that you have, but it's still worth it. So some things to keep in mind, thinking about how you're paying for things. If you send somebody a wire or you give them cash, those funds are gone. There's really not much fraud prevention or a way to recover that. When you're using your card, there's typically prevention. If you are using your signature, protected a little bit more. If you're using your PIN, nobody else should know your 4-digit PIN. We don't even keep those on hand. If somebody calls and says, I forgot my PIN, I need a new one, we tell them how to create their own. If your card number is used and somebody has your PIN, it's very, very hard to prove that that was not you or to recover those funds, because again, nobody should know that but you. And then really just stopping and thinking. Just if something seems scary, stressful, urgent, does this make sense? And is there another way that I can check this or go about getting this information to somebody? I don't need to click this link. I don't need to respond immediately with this information. I don't need to pay this person. I need to actually figure out, is this what I should be doing? As far as your phones go, really just making sure that you are on a secure Wi-Fi. A lot of places create mimic Wi-Fis, or a lot of fraudsters will. So if you go to Starbucks a lot, they might create one that says like Starbucks 1, and then you think you're on Starbucks Wi-Fi, but you're really on theirs, and they're monitoring everything you're doing. And then updating your phone. So I know it can be really annoying when it's like, you have an update, make sure you do this. If you have your phone plugged in at night, it should automatically do it for you. At least it does with my iPhone. But a lot of times those updates are to protect your phone. So that app, most apps have all that fraud prevention built in them as people are creating them and doing the coding that's built in. But fraudsters are working twice as hard to try and hack into those. So there's constant updates that need to be made to make sure that you're still protected. I highly recommend pulling your credit. I think we talked about this last time, but this is a great way to see if somebody has your social security number or is starting to gather information on you. So if you pull your credit and you see there's an address on there that you've never lived at, there's an inquiry that you did not do, those are good signs that somebody's starting to try to put your information out there mixed in with theirs. So at that point, you can put a credit freeze on your credit report where nobody can pull it without you giving them a PIN or calling Experian and unfreezing it. Or you can put a fraud alert on your credit report as well that says, please contact me at this number prior to approving anything in my name. That's just a good way to make sure that, you know, you are protected. If you see that there is something open in your name that is not you, contact that financial institution, contact your financial institution, contact the credit bureaus. At that point, somebody has your information, has already started. If you can stop your identity or catch your identity while it's being stolen, typically within the first 4 to 6 months, you can, it's a lot less daunting of a process. If not, it can be years. One of my old coworkers' moms, it was about 10 years of her still trying to recover her credit report and all this stuff because things went into collections, all this stuff. And for her to be able to prove it by the time she caught it was very challenging. So if you're not gonna check your credit just to see how your credit's doing, definitely check it to make sure nobody else is using your stuff. So contact financial institutions, file a police report. It's very rare that they catch the fraudster, but to have this on your record can be extremely helpful. Contacting credit bureaus, report any scams, even if they're small, to the FTC. That's a great way for some of those numbers to be flagged. If you've ever gotten an unknown number and you look it up and it tells you it's scam, that's because people are reporting it. Social Security Administration can be extremely helpful if there is identity theft and it's gone on for quite a while. There is a way to get a new social security number, but it is a long process to do so. Completing an identity theft affidavit will be extremely important, and then keeping records of everything that you do. Anytime you call a company or speak to somebody about this, you want to keep a record of who you talked to, when you talked to them, and what they told you, just to make sure that you're covering yourself on these things, because it can be, again, a long, daunting process if identity theft does start or occur. So that's the information I have. I know it probably sounded a little bit scary, but it's really just knowing how to protect yourself. If you have family members that you think, you know, might fall for some of these scams, please tell them. There's a lot of, you know, ones I know. One of my other coworkers, grandma, she got a call saying it was him and he was in prison and she needed to, you know, send $1,000 right away to help him. She did it. And through that call, they recognized that mentally she was not able to really understand what was happening. So they kept doing the same scam on her over and over. And I think she was out $5,000 or $6,000 before the family realized what was happening. It's just letting loved ones know that some of this happens. I think we do have a couple, I think we have 2 really good episodes, Wallet Watch episodes, our podcast that we have about scams. So check that out. And then we do put up articles and videos and infographics and stuff like that on our website and app as well. So let us know if you have any. I have the chat pulled up. I can pull up the Q&A as well in case there's anything in there.